Good afternoon once again, and welcome to this special session on generations or development of open and distance e-learning in the Philippines. As implied in the session title, we will attempt to describe the generations or development of open and distance e-learning in the country through the voices and narratives of the former chancellors of the UP Open University. We are hoping that at the end of the session, our takeaway will be the different models of offering academic programs in the distance e-learning mode, which I think you can select from this model which model will be more appropriate or relevant in your own context. Let me first introduce the panelists for this session. First, we have Dr. Maria Cristina Damasco Padulina, UPOU's first chancellor, whose term spans March 1995, from March 1995 to February 2001. Dr. Padulina is also a former CHED commissioner and a professor emeritus at the Institute of Chemistry, UP Los Baños. Dr. Padulina has been the chief academic officer and president of Centro Escolar University since August 2006, and also serves as CEU's principal executive officer. I think just recently she received an award on quality education. That's a very recent thing. So we are very proud of our first chancellor of UPOU, Dr. Padulina. Our next panelist is Dr. Felix Librero, the second chancellor of UPOU. His term was from March 2001 to February 2007. He is also Professor Emeritus at the Faculty of Education, UPOU, and still a very active faculty member, teaching graduate courses at UPOU. The third Chancellor of UPOU is Dr. Grace Xavier Alfonso, who served for 3 terms. Were you the first Chancellor to serve 3 terms? Yeah, she is, yes. Sa UPOU. Yeah, it was Baguio, yes, for the system. So that means to say that she served as Chancellor of UPOU for a period of 9 years. And that is from March 2007 to February 2016. And I will serve as the session's moderator. I am Dr. Mel Bandalaria, and I'm the current Chancellor of UPOU. So for this session, we have 3 major questions, and each panelist will be given 10 minutes to answer each question. They are also free to interact with the other members of this, the panelists. And at the end, we hope to have some 20 minutes towards the end of the session for some questions which our conference delegates may want to ask. So, panelists, are you ready? Yes? Okay. It doesn't, we don't have to follow the order of the first, the second, and the third. You may volunteer to be the first to answer the question. Yes, okay. Yeah. So the first question, yeah. Okay, yes. So the suggestion here is for the first question, we have to follow the chronological order, okay? So yeah, for our first question is, yes, describe the distance education mode of offering academic programs during your term as Chancellor of UPOU. And what was the education context at that time which necessitated this model of distance education? So we will first ask the first Chancellor, to be followed by the second Chancellor and the third Chancellor of UPOU. So Ma'am Tina?
Good afternoon to everyone. I'd like to thank the organizers of the conference for inviting me to this session. It's a pleasure to look back. How many years ago was that?
More than 20 years.
So more than 20 years ago when we started UP Open University. Starting the UP Open University was certainly not easy. There were many apprehensions from among the university community, especially with the UP community. because the apprehensions were a lot to do with the quality of education that may be offered using distance education. Now, if we're looking at the context, why did we even think about this? As a professor or in my field, I was heavily involved with the training of science teachers. And we were feeling that, we can teach the teachers only a few weeks at a time. And we knew that this was not enough, that they really have to have a full degree in order to be able to learn the content of the discipline that they were teaching. Because among science teachers, I think even now, the main problem is that many have not had education in the content itself. Like if you're teaching chemistry, you may have majored in science education, but not chemistry itself. So with that, we thought that we should think of a way to cover more teachers and for them to be able to take the training for a longer period of time. Well, we thought really that the only way to do that, since we cannot pull them out from their teaching, from their work, that we need to do this by distance education. Now, at that time, although I don't hear it often now, the other term that was being, used was correspondence education. But I think nowadays I don't even hear anymore the term correspondence education. I think distance education, especially open learning, has become so prominent that that is really just history. But at the time when we were starting, many really thought that what we meant to do was correspondence education. So that was essentially the context at that time. And the question here is, describe the distance education mode. Okay, 20 years ago, we did not have the internet. What did we have? Yes, we had telephones. But even those connections were also spotty because there were no mobile phones at that time. Or if there were, yun yung over na radio. So we thought that at that time we should do the printed. We should develop modules using the printed modules. So that was how we started. We commissioned writers to prepare the distance education modules. And however, we supplemented this with face-to-face discussions in learning centers. So we established learning centers all over the country, partnering with other higher education institutions and using their faculty as our tutors for those once a month sessions when the students would go to those centers so that they can ask questions about whatever they may not have understood from the modules. Of course, this also meant training our people to prepare those modules. Do we still have the learning centers?
Learning centers, some, yes.
Some. But
testing
not
centers.
But they're not now more testing centers rather than
they are more of testing centers. They are more of testing centers now rather than learning centers.
Okay.
So they go to the centers to take their exams.
to take the exams.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I think I'll stop there and maybe come back after.
Mr. Lex. And then
Thank you. The second 6 years of UPOU was actually a continuation of the first 6 years. In terms of our efforts in the area of proving to the university community that distance education was the way to go. I should point out that from the beginning, UPOU had difficulty with the terrain. I mean, the playing field, if you will. First, in terms of human resources requirements, we were all trained in the realm of residential instruction and conventional education. Therefore, we had to take the sudden big shift, especially in the specific area of learner-centered rather than teacher-centered education or instruction. Second, operating as an open university within the parameters of a conventional university, UPOU had to work doubly hard to introduce the instructional delivery requirements of distance education as opposed to conventional delivery of instruction. And third, we had to contend with conventional university governance. We were the new kid on the block, and we were trying to introduce new ways of doing things, while at the same time being subject to the rules that were generally stacked up to prevent us from operating an open university. However, we try to introduce certain innovations. So the events that were directly and specifically related to e-learning include the following during the second 6 years. One, in July 2002, the UPOU was designated by the Commission on Higher Education as Center of Excellence for Distance Education and E-Learning. At the same time, UPOU was also designated the National E-Learning Competency Center by the Information Technology and E-Commerce Council, now the Department of Information and Technology. In August 2002, the UPOU organized the first National Conference on E-Learning. This was co-sponsored by the Information Technology and E-Commerce Council. In January 2003, UPOU launched on Channel 9 a television program titled What's Up sa Barangay. This was the TV component of the program Certificate in Barangay Administration. In December 2003, the UPOU actively participated in the Asian E-Learning Network Conference in Tokyo. And for a while, UPOU was very active in this network. In February 2004, the UPOU launched its mobile learning program in collaboration with Smart Communication Incorporated. It was an experiment on the use of mobile gadgetry in distance education. In August of 2004, UPOU organized and sponsored the second National E-Learning Conference in Manila. And in October 2004, UPOU offered an improved e-learning system where tutorials continued to be undertaken online. At the same time, it was decided that all courses of UPOU were going to be offered online starting the following academic year. In August 2004, the third annual National Conference on E-Learning was undertaken. And a year after that, in August 2005, the UPOU was the recipient of the 2005 APIC Digital Opportunity Center Award for outstanding contribution to bridging the digital divide and advancing digital technologies and applications. Until now, the UPOU has continually hosted the National Conference on E-Learning. In between these, the UPOU organized also the International Conference on Distance Open E-Learning, ICODEL, which has been done twice. And I believe that we should be able to expect one to be organized next year. So these were the few events that we recorded during the next 6 years of the UPOU. So I will stop there because there is a continuation from the point of view of the third chancellor.
Thank you very much. I remember I was always been guided by the vision and mission of UP Open University, and it has gone through, I under you, I was Dean of Distance Education Diliman, and you were Dean at the time, Chancellor-Lex, right? SDE, we call them SDE. Then I became a director of AVTEL, which is the Audiovisual Teaching and Learning Laboratory under Chancellor Tina. And then kay Chancellor-Lex naman is a multimedia center of UPOU, which meant that doon pa lang, UPOU was sort of 10 steps ahead of making sure that we were using appropriate technologies. I think that was the most important thing. But at the same time, nandun pa rin yung internal and external acceptance of what open universities are all about. We were talking about, first, we really had to make sure that we had full support of UP system, making sure that they understand, the system understood what an open university is, and our mandate is really having wider access to quality education, strengthening the Filipino workforce, which brings the university to offer on top of its formal programs of bachelor's, master, doctoral programs, training programs, professional continuing education, and for lifelong learning. It was very important that we would engage ourselves in this. And the third point that we would always push for was to help in uplifting quality of higher education in the Philippines through distance education. That was our commitment. And through the years, we have gone through much of quality assurance in all levels, and that one we can discuss in later. But what was happening then was we had to have what we call as our Chancellor's Advisory Council. We had to be sort of like-minded in approaching what we had to do. So we would have meetings twice a month, every other week, and so that we could now put together bigger plans and so on how we can address to develop system of continuing education to sustain and be responsive to the learners, making use of technologies available, and also we know that it's not only a delivery system that is different, but the philosophy itself. And in fact, it was then we were very reflexive on what we meant by being an open university and what openness is all about. So, we were saying, we resolved that we have to OUify the practices, and that means open distance learning. What do we mean by being an open distance learning institution? So what we did was be active in what was happening in the world. We went to, we sort of internationalized, went to many conferences, updated our faculty, our reps, our staff, and I remember putting up millions to research, training for our faculty, reps, and staff. And this meant that it would be strengthening us, but at the same time, we were really making healthy the environment in the sense that we were engaging with all yung ginagawa ni Sir Lex, ni Ma'am Tina. We would go out and come out with national conferences and international conferences. And then we pushed for RA 10650 to come out, which is the expanded ODL and pushing all universities to be technology enhanced. And then that they would adapt certain qualities of ODL. And then, of course, we were very active in the CHED. So we were, ito Sir Lex, kayo rin dito sa, of course, Ma'am, you were really there for being there in CHED, was also looking out for the technical panel. We were active. I'm still a chair now of transnational and open distance learning. So with that, I think all aspects of the university had to, be aware of the realities of open and distance learning.
Okay, yeah. You want to add something? Yeah.
Just to, for the information of everyone, all four of us, the four generations, we were all there from the start. And I think that also helped in moving the Open University and Open and Distance Learning because we just sort of continued each other's initiatives. So that I think that made a lot of difference and made what UPOU is here now. So.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ma'am. I was about to say that all of us, the four of us here on stage, we were together when we started, when UPOU was established. In fact, even before UPOU was established during the time of, how do you call the DST? Studi. During the time of Studi, it was Dr. Librero and Dr. Padulina who were the main players of Studi. And when UPOU was established in 1995, Ma'am Tina became the first chancellor. And these two became the deans of the established schools for distance education, geographically located in Los Baños, Diliman, and Visayas, yes. I also agree that it helped that we were all there together. We started together. We're now continuing each other's initiatives because we believe in what had been started by our predecessors. If we will take from the first question, if we will get the main points that were raised, I think many of the universities here can relate to how we started. I mean, the struggle, making everyone know that what distance education is, the enculturation part of it. Of course, we've been against all odds, if I may say. But we persisted, yes. And I think we've been going around the universities, and I'm hearing the same story. And I was telling these universities that hindi bago yan. Mas malala ang pinagdaanan, mas malala yung pinagdaanan ng UPOU. And I was telling them na, sige lang, because it was really the persistence of the people who were really working for Open University at that time that really made us who we are now. If I may add also, UPOU, as a sort of an international recognition, we hosted twice the Asian Association of Open Universities Conference. The first was during your time in
Shangri-La.
15 years ago, I think in 2001 or 2000, I can't recall, 2001, okay. And then the second was last year, in 2016. So if you will look at that journey of UPOU, the struggle, but the persistence of us and the belief in our advocacy to make it work, really, yeah, sure. Yeah.
And as fruits of that, we are now the president of Asian Association of Open Universities. And you're the president, I'm the secretary general, which meant that there was this recognition and respect coming from the Asian Association of Open Community. We're talking about open universities that would, for one university, there are about 4 million students, like Indira Gandhi IGNU, National Open University. And of course, but they saw probably that they had to go into the digital and the digital delivery and also the philosophy. They've been doing the philosophy, but it's really shifting to another medium. And that was why probably we were elected as the president, as a university.
Some other things that were highlighted during the first round of our question and answer was that we were really guided. It's very important that the institution has this, to be guided by the vision. Your vision for your institution should be your guide in really crafting programs and why you will really offer programs in distance education. It's a very important component. The mission vision of your institution. And if you can also distill from the answers of our panelists, the role of technology in really concretizing what we hope to achieve became really very important. So that's for the first round. If you have questions for that, please reserve your questions. We will have an open forum later. So for our second question, so the discussion on quality, I think it was mentioned by Ma'am Tina earlier, that the struggle, the questions during the time when UPOU was established was really on the quality of education that we are delivering via this mode of instruction, distance education. It persisted. It persisted when we shifted to online mode of delivery. We started doing online education in 2001, and we became fully online in 2007. Yes. So we can see here different models of offering distance education programs from Generation 1. We have printed modules. I can still remember the cassette tapes containing the, which we included in our course packages, which later turned into the CD. We have radio programs, we have TV programs, and many other teleconferencing for our tutorial sessions. So given all these different ways, different mechanisms of implementing distance education program, how was quality education or quality of instruction assured during your term? I know that you're really working for the quality assurance thing. So what were these features that really made us say that what we are offering is quality education?
I think one of the factors that made us really pay attention to quality is that we were operating within the University of the Philippines system. And there were some people, in fact, who made the comment that being in the UPOU prevented us from being too adventurous to, to many things. And also, being kept online, so to speak, as far as quality is concerned. What we always said during that time is that in distance education, we are opening the doors for the opportunity, the doors of opportunity rather, for people who may not be able to go to the traditional universities and make use of the traditional modes. However, the door going out remains the same. In other words, the qualities that we wanted our students going through the usual classes is the same as the qualities that we expected from our students in distance education. I think that's a principle that we always had in mind. But we also said that the teacher in the distance education mode are the materials, the teaching materials, the modules. Therefore, those modules have to be of very good quality. And so, one of the ways by which, of course, as Dr. Librero said, we really spent a lot of time training our teachers, but one of the important practices that we had was the establishment of quality circles. Mind you, the term quality circle, I did not know at the time, was a term that is very important in quality assurance systems.
Yes.
But I did not know about those things before. But we had a quality circle, and that is that's good because it meant that we may not know all of these, management principles about quality, but we did know how to see to it that the materials were of very good quality. So we had the writer, who is an expert. We had two editors, the English editor and the content editor. And we also had an instructional designer to work with the team so that and I think we were really ahead of our time. I mean, at this time, people are just talking and learning about competency-based teaching and learning. At that time, we were already there because we had to first, our instructional designers saw to it that we first set down our objectives and see to it that our teaching and learning, our modules, were consistent with those objectives that they call now outcomes. And that our assessment are also in perfect fit. Yes. There's a term that they use now in OBTL, outcome-based teaching and learning, and that is the term called constructive alignment. Alignment of your teaching and learning strategies with your assessment and, of course, with your outcomes. I think from the start in OpenU, we did practice that, although we didn't know the term. Constructive alignment. So, but I think we really just we had good instincts, I suppose, in crafting those measures.
Yeah. Ma'am Tina, you mentioned earlier about the training of our tutors. Yes, so that's also one way of assuring the quality of education that we are delivering at the time. So while our tutors were based in collaborating institutions, we saw to it that they have this training on distance education primarily and how to do the tutorial sessions. And they are also experts in the subject area that they are tutoring, so to speak. So, and I also recall at the time, I was just then a research assistant and then faculty member. We were also undergoing training on instructional design. So, so we had all those training as well as even if we're not really directly engaged in teaching, but for learner support, I was trained to do that. I was also trained on instructional design. Lots of capability building programs for us, the different sectors of UPOU. We've had all those things. So it's very important to build the capability of our university staff. So, Sir Lex, or?
Yeah.
You know, I think I am the luckiest among the four of us here because my term straddled on the terms of the grand dames of distance education in this country. You know, when I began my term as chancellor, we had just shifted to online tutorials. Online tutorials started out during the term of Tina. We continued to maintain our quality circles. As Dr. Padulina says, there were 5 members of this circle. The one at the center is the subject matter specialist and the course writer, one person. And one of the editors that Dr. Padulina mentioned was, I referred to that person as the reader, also a subject matter specialist, to make sure that the content was correct, was accurate. And then we had language editors, we had instructional designer, and we had media specialist, including an encoder. Kaya lima-anim yun eh. Now, when it comes to the use of platforms, you know, when we migrated to Moodle, we had already employed IVLE, the Integrated Virtual Learning Environment, as a platform. Now, what we learned from using IVLE program from that we borrowed from Singapore, we added into what we learned in using Moodle. So there was easy transition from IVLE to Moodle. In fact, we were as surprised as anybody else when we found that our students were as good in using Moodle as most of us. Our concern for assuring quality of our programs and courses and products was greatly strengthened with the start of the university's efforts in developing quality assurance for our human resources and instructional products. Our faculty, through a series of workshops, as Chancellor Mel says, learned to design and produce high-quality instructional materials. In the process, they also developed important skills in using quality materials in their own course deliveries. Today, the faculty members of the UPOU have been practicing automatic quality control measures in their constant updating of their courses and instructional materials. On the whole, we in the faculty of the UPOU have had to go through a crucial hurdle. At the time that I was serving as Chancellor, the Philippines was at a digital and e-learning crossroads where we had to hurdle three major issues. One, we were at the stage of development of distance education and e-learning in the country where we were wading through a pedagogical gap whose main feature was the reluctant acceptance of distance education by higher education decision makers in the country. Two, we had to contend with a technological gap where we either could not have accessed them or we could not have afforded them. If the UPOU was able to afford the technology, our students at that time did not have easy access to such technology. And three, we had to deal squarely with the fact that it was simply difficult to migrate from teacher-centered or teacher-controlled to a learner-controlled learning environment. We could not do it overnight. And so therefore, in some ways, we were doing things all together at the same time. And so that made our job much more difficult, but I think, as far as I'm concerned, it was well worth it.
Yeah, talking about the quality assurance, we're very lucky to be a product of the, hindi ko naman sabihin slave driver ng mga chancellor prior me. But anyway, sa akin, I had that benefit, that's a benefit. So 2007, we went completely online. So, nando na yung backbone. So we were able to concentrate on building and reviewing our programs. So we were able to open up the first bachelor's degree program, Bachelor of Arts in Multimedia, na inumpisahan mo pa na okay na by the time I was sitting there, and followed by another bachelor's program, BES, which is Bachelor in Education Studies. And then also we have the PhD program. So aside from one PhD, we have Doctor of Communication program. And also, meron pa, Diploma Masters in Land Valuation, Diploma Masters in International Health, so, and then also Diploma Masters in ASEAN Studies. So, ang sisipag ng mga dean, all right, and they were pushing for new programs, quite confident about the delivery mode, quite confident about the way we were addressing quality. Why? Because our programs had to go through the same way as the residential programs in the University of the Philippines. It would go to a curriculum committee, to the faculty assembly, to the AAC, PAC, up to Board of Regents. So people were not even thinking of its not being good quality. So there was now, there was a comfort zone, but at the same time, we had to be expanding in all ways. So we were also looking at engaging with industry, and so that's why we came up with our MOOCs and our OERs, and at the same time, the internationalization, ICDE, being a member of that, that is the International Council for Distance Education, AAOU also, and now very active in open education. So, and we were also doing research, because there was a time when we were really going to write down our researches, but there was not very much. So a push for research. Now our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs would have a weekly Friday research conversation. So with that, we were now coming up with new knowledge in going ODEL. and making sure that quality would be there. So we also went into, because our faculty was also evaluated according to the same parameters as our residential counterpart. We would be judged by our research, our publication and all that and everything. But now, you had to be a super professor or teacher because you had to be a media specialist, also an ID, and all this. But I think that really made us fully appreciate the whole process. And even other institutions saw this move and that the community has expanded and wants to be part of this whole open education movement. So that I think was a good thing. And seeing this continuity is really, knowing this, I think there will be less mistakes on the part of institutions who would like to go into it. I think our researchers will give you, a good foundation. So maybe you can, that's why I think we are pushing you now to look at it and how effective and acceptable it is right now.
Sir Lex mentioned earlier that he's the lucky chancellor. But I think I can be the one to claim that because whatever what you've been working hard during your terms, your respecting terms, ako ngayon ang nag-aani ng lahat ng prutas ng inyong mga itinanim during sa mga term ninyo. We're now not only nationally recognized for our leadership, but also internationally recognized. Hindi lang sa region, hindi lang sa Asia, but ma'am, international world na yung nagre-recognize sa atin. And kaya I think ako yung makakapag-claim, sir, ng ako yung pinakamaswerte sa lahat ng chancellor. Lahat ng pinaghirapan ninyo, ako ngayon ng nag-aani. The Asian Association, the international, the ICDE were also recognized as an active and important partner of ICDE. If I may share also before I go to the last question, noong mga unang panahon, yung mga authors na nababasa ko lang at binabasa ko lang ang mga articles nila kasi bahagi ng pagre-research natin na mag-refer dun sa kanilang mga sinulat. Sina John Daniel na yan, ma'am. Di ba? Mga binabasa lang natin yung mga yan. Nire-refer natin as the Vice Chancellor at the time of UKOU, yung sina Alan Tate na yan, sila Rory. I mean, these people. Ma'am, karabing elbow na ngayon ng mga taga-UPOU. So, I mean, we're at that level and I think we've been through those, but I can say that we're there. We're there. So now for my last question before we go to the open forum and give you the chance to interact with our panelists. In this era of openness in education, what can be the competitive advantage of open universities? I mean, there are many universities here who want to go into distance education program. They have filed their application for accreditation to CHED so that they can also offer their programs in distance education. But we are now in the age of openness and everyone wants to look into it and be part of it. So, and many of us here are also in the residential instruction. So, what can be the competitive advantage of open universities and how can residential universities or residential instruction can benefit from this openness in education that has become a trend now in the world and here in the country?
I'll answer the second question. Because I am with a residential university, the Central Escolar University. The question is, how can residential universities / instruction benefit from the different forms of open education practice? You might think that when I went to CEU, that I would transform CEU into an open university. I did not. And maybe some would wonder why. CEU is different. CEU has different strengths, and I did not think at that time that it would be good for me to go in there and transform it into an open university. But now, because of the presence, because of the internet and the presence of OERs and MOOCs, we are able to put in, as you said here, forms of distance education practice into our courses. How? One, we use it for faculty development. How? We encourage our faculty to enroll in MOOCs, to take up MOOCs, where, because there are so many these days. And for those of you who are here and who are looking at these forms, I would encourage you and urge you to enroll. Enroll ba ang tawag nila?
Enroll pa rin.
Enroll pa rin. To enroll in one of these. I did myself. I took up a course because I couldn't find, at that time, I wanted to be enrolled in one. I couldn't find one in my field, and perhaps I didn't want one in chemistry. So I took up a course entitled The Letters of Paul. Sino yun si Paul? The first distance, the so-called, they call him the first distance education person, Saint Paul of the Bible. And I did not finish the course, but at least I had an experience of doing what it is. Because I could not recommend to my faculty something that I had no knowledge about. So I really urge you, if you want to go into this, to by all means enroll in one. And so what do? We encourage our faculty to take up a MOOC. And because it's free, if they want to get a certification, there's a little fee. And so we offer that we pay for that fee. It's very small fee. Okay. And you learn from the experts of the world. For example, the course that I took is being offered by Harvard, by the School of Divinity. Imagine, so I can claim, you know, I studied in Harvard, and I really did enjoy what I did. So that's what we do, and what our faculty have found is that the materials that they get from being enrolled in a MOOC, they can use in their own teaching, in their own classes. Okay. What I'm thinking is now requiring our faculty, most of them, to have their students enroll in a MOOC that is related to their subject. I think, now why do this? Why reinvent the wheel? There are so many of these materials that are out there and written by experts all over the world. So I think we should make use of that. So that's one way that we, a residential university, make use of this a form of open education practice. The other thing that we have started even some years back, but we are now going into a more vigorous way is to offer our courses by blended learning, which means there will still be the classes, 3 hours a week for the usual 3 units, but this will be supplemented with video materials through the internet, with discussions using the internet, and so on. That's why it's called blended learning. We blend the usual classrooms with elements of open learning. It's not easy. I know of many other universities that's trying to do this, but I really think that all of us, higher education institutions, have to go there. We should, because we should all make use of all the materials that are out there. There's so many materials in YouTube, Netflix, and so on. That we can incorporate into our courses. And so the first attempt in our target for CEU is that all GE courses will be offered by blended learning starting next year, 2018.
Ma'am, you are really ahead of your time. What you were describing earlier was, ma'am, yung model natin na MOOCs as OER. Wherein you are asking your residential students to enroll in a MOOC. That's part of the lesson that they are enrolled in your university, where they can earn the credit. And in the MOOC, or in the face-to-face session, they will just do further discussion or even assessment. I will be discussing that tomorrow. Kasi sabi ko, nauna pa yung description niya dun sa aking session on the Philippine initiatives. But that's the kind of model that we are really advocating now in terms of OERs as OERs, which the teachers, the students can use, but also to consider MOOCs as OERs. With that model. Ma'am, if you don't mind, I will just ask one question. Kasi you are encouraging the student, your faculty members to enroll in MOOCs. Will that figure in when they are being evaluated for promotion? Pag nag-earn sila ng certificate, yeah.
Yes, that's part, they can claim that as part of their faculty development and training. Yes. And then, of course, in CEU, we have a so-called productivity and innovation incentive. So those who, every year we give that. They submit what they think were any work that they think improved productivity in the university and was an innovation in the university. And this is rewarded every year with cash. So, but in addition, they can still list that during ranking as part of their qualifications.
Sabi ko sa'yo, mas nauna pa sa atin. Titingin ako sa budget officer natin. Pwede ba natin gawin yung ganun? But, so, I mean, in terms of recognizing the certificates earned by completing a MOOC, that's really something that we hope to really look into in the future. But I'm happy to note that CEU is already implementing that, and I guess that's something that we can also, learn from. We can study on how we can implement the same. Because I know that some of our faculty members at UPOU, they have earned several certificates of completion in a MOOC or several MOOCs that they have taken. So, ma'am, thank you for sharing that.
Sige, sir.
Naririnig ninyo yung currency ng mga practices at saka future practices. Ako naman, gusto kong lumingon, titingnan ko muna yung mga lumang mga ideas, Because the issues we were concerned long time ago, some of them are still as good today as they were then. No? Nakalimutan na ngalan natin yung iba, pero very appropriate pa rin sila ngayon. Isa na nga dyan. Itong question na ito, in this era of openness in education, what can be the competitive advantage? I would like to look at this from the point of view na tingnan muna natin, tinitingnan ko ngayon yung ating the current Philippine educational system. Now, in our midst, in our educational system, or our educational system in this country is a huge problem today. And probably for quite some time. Like halimbawa, the national government cannot afford to accommodate all Filipinos that need education in the current capacity that our educational system is able to handle. So, like for example, there are not enough schools, there are not enough books, there are not enough teachers, and we still have many remote places in this country that still do not have schools. Now, transitioning from conventional education to open education is a huge philosophical jump that can initially disorient the entire education system kung hindi careful ang mga decision makers natin. However, this can be remedied quite easily with the reorientation of teachers na sinisimulan na ngayon towards learner-centered education and open access to educational services. Now, we have gained solid experiences in open access and quality education. But it will take some time for the entire, education system to be able to catch up. Now we have more than 100 SUCs and about 1,000 private universities and higher education institutions in this country. It's going to be difficult. Mabuti yung CEO kasi nangunguna na siya eh. Pero yung iba, napapag-iwanan pa rin hanggang ngayon. The idea that openness of universities and other educational institutions could possibly have advantages over those that do not have such capacity needs to be addressed further for clarification. In fact, here are old issues that we still need to look into. One is what we have always referred to in the past as the new learning paradigm. Learners must take control of their education, and teachers must let go of their authority over the classrooms. Two, the need to retool ourselves. Today, we need to learn to use new technologies that enable us to use other technologies which are also changing rapidly. Three, developing skills for independent learning. There is need for learners to upgrade their skills to learn on their own. Four, nuances of open learning and distance education. I have always believed that open learning is a philosophy of access to educational services, while distance education is a system of delivering educational services. These are not one and the same. Five, convergence of technologies. The convergence of technologies is also changing the manner in which learning materials have to be designed and used. And six, this is an old issue which Chancellor Padulina has heard me talk about before. moving the expertise, not the expert. The deployment and employment of electronic communication capabilities has made it possible to expose learners to learning materials across distances without moving either the learner or the learning facilitator. 7, technological dependence. Too much dependence on hardware would ultimately mean dependence on countries that own the hardware. 8, death of distance. Old issue. Through telecommunications, communicating with learners around the world at any given time is now done in real time. Distance has ceased to be a variable in the learning enterprise. 9, virtuality. Virtuality has made it possible for learners to access various learning materials from various sources at any given time, particularly when it is most needed. And finally, Peter Singer's dance of change. All other things being equal, we normally introduce innovations into the learning organization, sustain these innovations, and later rethink the governance that need to be managed and that is needed to manage the innovations already put in place. We need to address these issues before the entire education system could completely benefit from the openness of educational institutions. Without such efforts, we would simply be applying solutions not to the root causes of the problem, but only to the symptoms of such problems.
Yes. I think tayong lahat mga kababayan, no choice. Because every year, we have about 800 high school graduates who do not pursue higher education. So, government and us also have a resolve to make technology work for us. No choice. And I think what we're doing now, being here, is that we are living our future. In other words, this is already the future. We do have to make a shift. Some will not be, we were talking about how open we are earlier. Iba-iba, magvavary ng degrees yun. If you are a residential university, what we're pushing is that you be technologically enhanced. And what we're saying is that you can go flipped classroom, flexible and blended. So ito lang yung mga iba-iba naman yun. So we keep on pushing that our students should be innovative, creative, with critical thinking, but we have to be the same. Our faculty will have to be the same. The way we push for education should also be the same. In fact, yung ibang university meron ng MOOCs for credit, but we are studying that. Kasi kailangan sabay-sabay tayo sa higher education. Hindi naman pwedeng, it would be good that if we can exchange credits, but we have, yes, to agree so that one is not left behind, etc. And I think that is our role, to be able to get everybody be part of that community of openness. So thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a very rare opportunity that you get these three people here together. So I would like now to open the floor for questions from our conference delegates. Take this opportunity to ask our experts. Pagka sinerch ninyo ang distance education in the Philippines, lalabas definitely ang pangalan ng mga to. So ito na yung opportunity for you to ask questions. Yung inyong mga pagdududa, mga saloobin about distance education, online learning, this is the opportunity for you to seek clarifications or even guidance, if you may, from our three experts here. So may mga magtatanong ba? Si Ma'am Jean na magtatanong. Ma'am Jean, oh, yeah.
I don't know whether this comment refers to Dr. Padolina or to all of our past chancellors. She said that three common terms that I heard from her. We didn't know at the time, she said. We only know now, and we did things the best we can. So in terms of implication for management, would that suggest that managing open universities cannot be planned rationally, but it is a Star War-like, that you make sense of it backwards, but managing can be done reflectively? That's the first observation and comment. It's not rational. It's difficult to design an open university. You don't know the labels at the time, but you were able to manage it. So it's less Star Wars-like. You reflect on it and then you make sense of it. Oh, that's how we manage it. If we cannot transform residential universities into open universities, what are the aspects of open universities that residential universities should have?
I think I did answer the second question, indicating how, in fact, encouraging everyone, all who are, everyone actually still practicing, except OpenU, still practicing the traditional classroom system mode of instruction. So I did urge that we should make use of what are available now, the MOOCs, the OERs, and incorporate them into our instruction and into our teaching and learning. What else can you incorporate? The presence right now of learning management systems that we should include also in our class in the university, that can easily be done by traditional face-to-face universities. The first question about not being able to manage or plan rationally, in fact, I think we did more than that. It's not possible to not plan, especially if you are running into a lot of opposition. You have to plan. But of course, there would be instances when you took a wrong turn, and that is when you reflect and see how you can change the original plan. But that too is part of management. I don't think there is any institution in the world that had not encountered a wrong turn. And what's important is you know how to manage those wrong turns and get back to the mission and vision that you have as an institution. Really, what I was saying was that, in fact, the qualities or the elements of quality assurance, which is very much ingrained in our management practices today, whereas I said we may not have known those terms that are being used now, what we did were actually those. Yung tinatawag nilang PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act. No, PDCA, which is the continuous improvement system. We did that.
Yeah.
We didn't know it was PDCA at that time.
That was not done like that before.
But we did have those practices.
If I may add, I think there was also this collective, I'm not so sure if I can say it's collective management, but there was the decisions made collectively at the time. Those who are with us now at UPOU, we have our CACs probably mga ilang, nagre-reklamo kayo pag ang CAC natin ay umaabot ng alas 3 ng hapon, ganyan. During their time, the Chancellor's Advisory Council, during the time of Dr. Padulina, I can recall, sir, hanggang gabi kayong nagmi-meeting noon. In fact, hanggang mula breakfast hanggang dinner ay isineserve sa kanila. I mean, our people from OSI could attest to that. And we were, and all of us, I mean, kami mga staff kami noon, we were all waiting. Hindi kami makauwi hanggang hindi natatapos ang meetings ng CAC at that time. But because there were major decisions that needed to be made, even we still had the OVCSSS at that time. I remember Dr. Saplala, and learner support services was a big thing. I mean, when we were starting, that was really, that featured predominantly in our operations. I mean, even now. But at that time, maraming reflection, maraming tinitingnan, maraming ini-evaluate. But I can say that everything was planned. But the good thing is, yun nga, kapag may wrong turn, medyo sabay-sabay din na ina-address. I was a witness to that. Sabay-sabay ding ina-address to correct whatever was the wrong turn. I mean, yeah, you can add to that.
I understand the point that Jean was raising, but I'd like to refocus it. In those times, what we could say now was, in those times that we had to do the things that we did. We did not know exactly what to call them then. We knew a lot of things about open universities then, but there was a lot we did not know. And so, but that did not hold us back from really pushing it. Kasi ang nangyari doon, you have to put it in context. The leaders of the Open University at that time went on official studies sa UPOU, sa Israel, kung saan galing, Africa. So marami naman kaming natutunan, marami naman tayong natutunan, pero marami ring mga dapat na gawin na hindi namin alam kung anong tawag sa kanila. Ngayon, alam na. So, pwede doon sa mga magkaplano ngayon, hindi na kayo mangangapa. Big sabihin, alam na ninyo kung anong dapat na gawin dahil mayroon na tayong experience sa area na yan. And I think we are open to that.
I think it's also part of claiming a leadership role. I think that's the spirit of UPOU University has always been. That's why I was saying, since then, matagal na yon, 10 steps ahead. Why? Because we are uniquely put together right now. We're purely online. Lahat na ito, mga bago lahat eh. So, bago ang field. So, when you say, parang medyo, ano yun, ang sabi mo, Star Wars, di ba? Okay. But I would like to think that we already have a track record, a history, and we have literature to look back to. So, may grounding doon. But at the same time, parang, because everything is so fast, the changes in education, we have to think out of the box, within the box.
Out of the box, within the box.
Correct, because that's your environment, you're given this environment, but how do you now come out with innovations that will work? And you know the system, you know the culture. I think that's, to me, an important part of the planning, You have to know what's going on. At the same time, know your strengths, know your leadership, in what field are you good at, and that's what you push for. I think that's the essence of what Mom Jean was trying to say, I think, along that line. So, yeah.
Are there other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon po. I would like to inquire as private institution, if in case po we have opportunity to open this open and distance learning, ano po ang requirements ng CHED to recognize our program?
Okay. Ma'am, you have to go to our application, lahat yan, doon sa ating CMO, Google lang yan, lalabas po, pati ang forms that you have to fill up. But before that, I think you will have to, you have to rate yourself doon sa parameters of being able to be given this certificate or authority to operate. So marami po yun mahaba. Okay, you have to be a level 3 in terms of programs. So kung ang university mo, you have to also have the willingness of your board for you to come up with that program. In other words, alam sa buong universidad at bibigyan kayo ng finances to push for that. But at the same time, kailangan din po, ganito yun marami hong kailangan. You have to have a good element, parang checklist, hindi ko memoriando. Pero ganito po yun. Siguro, importante na isipin nyo rin kasi pwedeng maging expensive din for you. You might, and will not, kahit na i-develop nyo yan, baka hindi ba rin kayo mabigyan ng permiso. So I think, pwede kayo mag-apply, i-assess po kayo, and then sasabihan kayo kung pwede nga ba o hindi. Okay. So please, please inquire,
Thank you.
May question, si Mama may question.
Kailangan bang kumuha ng permit para gawin kong blended learning ang aking subject? Hindi kailangan din ba kung gusto ko siyang gawing flipped?
Ma'am, pwede yun kasi yan na nga ay batas. Batas pushing everyone to go into blended, etc. So you're expected to do that. Pero iba po pa rin yung tatawagin yung sarili nyo na open university kayo, iba yung may openness doon sa iyong system of distribution, iba pa rin po yun. So pagka sinabi nyo na you are siguro going transnational education or distance education, napaka strict yung mga ganon. Now, to answer you, everybody's right, everybody's being pushed to do that. Pero po, dahil ginagwardyahan yung ating standards, yung quality, so ang CHED po, maingat na sabihin kayo ay distance learning institution. Kasi pinangangalagaan din yung reputasyon ng distance education sa Pilipinas. Yun po yun. Now, yung quality natin, kailangan alagaan din po yan. Kasi may possibility na komersyo, etc. Papasok po yan. In fact, napakadami na sa transnational education. They're all asking to be a part of it. Pati ho sa ibang bansa, lahat po pumapasok. Ang inbound, lahat po lumalabas din. So, pero, meron din kayo kung autonomous kayo, you are just to report. Oo. So, meron din ganun. So, ibig sabihin, meron ng parang nasala na yon. Kasi kung autonomous ang inyong status as a university, nandun na yung quality. Di ba ho? Oo. So,
Okay, I think this will be the last question. Yes, yes.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Ces from DIMSU, Open University. Ma'am, my question is about the review of your programs. Ma'am, kasi sa syempre alam natin sa conventional, andyan yung AACUP, andyan po yung mga accreditation instrument for mga conventional. So, ang lagi pong naming is wala namang naka-customize for open universities. So, ma'am, paano niyo po ginawa sa inyo?
Kasi, swerte rin po ang University of the Philippines. Hindi ina-accredit. It is voluntary. Actually, accreditation is voluntary. Di ba? At the same time, palaging exception yung UP, pati dito sa ating distance education, kasi meron na siyang status. Di ba? Now, what we're saying here also is yung ating mga accreditation bodies, hindi siya ODL. Wala, yung parameters na ibang-iba. So kaya po, meron tayong push international accreditation system ng ODL. Now, that's a big project of Asian Association of Open Universities, and we're putting it together, doing the feasibility study, and that's the big project also for this year. Now, when we have that, kasi that's also the exception kung yung programa na pinupush mo, walang accreditation body na, like for example, Divinity. Wala di ba? So, international accreditation ang kailangan. So, ganun po yun.
Dagdagan ko yung sinabi ni Ma'am that is now a big project of UPOU, but for not only for the Philippines but for the region. Kung titingnan yung kit po ninyo, merong kasamang questionnaire yon. That is our starting point. When we look at how you feel about quality, what's the understanding, because we also want to know where we are, how do universities in the Philippines feel about it, about the quality, because yun yung parang yung step 1 in this international accreditation. We took this opportunity to ask the conference delegates about this. Kasi kaya kayo narito, kasi you're really interested about distance education. But we also want to know, we are a community of practice here. We're members of the same community of practice. And we want to know how you feel about this international accreditation, because we really want to push it in 2018, this international accreditation. But we want to also have that here in the Philippines. Para tayo, we can talk about the same language. We talk about the same language when we talk of accreditation, we talk of quality, we talk about all these things. So yun lang siguro. Thank you very much. If you still want to ask questions sa ating mga panelists, pwede nyo silang tanungin pagkababa nila ng stage. But allow me to thank all of them, the three of them. Thank you also for the active participation. And it's a very, we're really very fortunate to have these three experts with us this afternoon. So allow me to give the certificates to our panelists. Yeah. Of course, may certificate. Hindi nyo na ito magagamit sa inyong promotion. Pero we still want, sagad-sagad na kayo. The first is for Dr. Padulina. Salamat po. With a jacket daw. Ito na lang ibigay ko. This is for Dr. Librero.
Akala ko jacket lang binigay sa akin.
Ma'am Gigi.